Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Greetings. Tanya's got her warm.
I thought I had one more second to adjust this.
It's okay. No, go ahead. This is
Everybody just wait for me
this
while
This is pre-show time. Don't worry about it. This is when we get all the awkwardness out.
It's cute. You think I'm going to stop being awkward here in a minute.
Just kidding.
It's like he's never watched the show before.
Seriously. So we've got some fun stuff planned for tonight, and I know that the hot cocoa is hot. So I want to tone down the warmer on that sucker.
Nope, no? I got it set at the perfect temperature.
She has fun.
Gulp.
Yeah, she has one of these fancy ember mugs that
y'all.
A friend gave her.
My friend bought me this ember mug. Wait, the YouTubers. I got to put my hand behind it.
Yep. There you go.
It's the best ever.
It's the best.
I love it. That's probably offensive.
Yeah, if you don't know what the old ember mug is, it's got like a warmer built into the bottom of it.
It's Bluetooth. So
yeah,
I set the little temperature on my phone, and it keeps my drink that temperature, and it's
there. You go.
Amazing.
Yeah, drop off doesn't know. You still don't know who it was, right? No. Yeah. So she had a surprise drop off.
Surprise friend.
I know who it was. And it's rare that I know things that she does not. So
actually, it's not. I never know anything. I've actually said that I want that on my tombstone. So like, here lies Tanya. No one ever told her anything.
This is true. She says that often.
Yeah.
So Ian's here, not awkward. That's optimistic. Thank you, Ian.
Right, Ian? He knows the truth.
He does. He does know the truth. He knows Tanya. It's good. So cool stuff. We got a lot of fun things to talk about tonight. I know Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser content has kind of been everywhere for the past week or so from all your favorite influencers and whatnot. We, neither of us, have been on the Starcruiser yet. There have been one, two, maybe at least three, I think, complete sailings so far. But we're going to get into a conversation tonight with somebody that was on one of those. It's March 8th. First one was on March 1st. So anyway, so yeah. But it's gonna be a fun night. So feel free to share this, send it out there on the interwebs. We're gonna be inviting one of my Travelmation buddies.
Sharing.
That's good. One of my Travelmation buddies, Jeffrey B. Scott, who I actually reconnected with. I feel like a couple of years ago, for the first time in like 20 years. So what are you looking at?
I'm trying to see what Ian said.
It's
Rogers the musical?
Yeah, Rogers. I don't know what that was referring to, but
we can sing the whole song.
No, you don't want us to do that.
If you like, we can sing the whole
She has a much better voice than I do. I was in the Birmingham Boys Choir for 3 years, from 3rd through 5th grade.
I was not, so you got that on me.
I was classically trained for 3 years. No more. So anyway, so cool stuff. A lot of y'all are hopping on, and we won't delay this.
Nope. I'm sleepy
any longer.
Although since we saw you last week, we have slept like
a little bit more.
Twice?
Yes.
2 nights?
2 times.
Or 3 nights?
Maybe.
We're so tired. We're not sure if it's 2 or 3 nights. We lost count after 2.
The youngest one woke us up like at 5 a.m. this morning.
Oh, he had the lights on. He was ready to go. I was like, it's nowhere close to, So, but I think we got at least 2 nights of actual sleep. So we're really feeling pretty good here.
No idea what's about to happen. Anyway, so.
I mean, considering it had been months since we'd had any regular sleep.
Yes, a little bit. So let's go ahead and we're going to kind of get this thing started, and then we'll bring our special guest on here in just a moment. Someone else said something. Yes, Joshua said, "Hey, how's the jump to hyperdrive?" We'll talk about that here in a little bit. So let's.
You have a microphone.
Talk.
You don't have
to
yell.
I know that. Well, I need to talk loud enough where they can hear me. Don't need to whisper.
Well, that's the point of the microphone, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but
you don't have you don't have to shout so they can hear you like across.
I'm watching it. I know, I know what I'm doing. Saying. I've done this before.
Just my ears hurt.
Domestic dispute. All right. Just can't have nice things. So let's go ahead and get started. Tonight, this is Travel Tips Tuesday. It is March the 8th, 2022, and we are chatting all things Starcruiser with my friend Jeffrey B. Scott, who will be on here in just a moment. Really excited to have him on the show. And our question of the day today is this: what is the weirdest thing you have ever eaten? What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? And this loosely has to do with today's show. Very, very loosely. We'll get there. It involves blue shrimp. If you know, you know. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna be chatting a lot of things about.
If you know, you know.
Yes, hashtag. Love the hashtags. Hashtag word vomit. There it is, right up front. So if you were not aware on like I think maybe the first time that Tanya was on the show. We coined the hashtag word
bringing
vomit.
The awkward since episode 1 right in.
that's good.
That's what I do.
That's her catchphase. So all right, Disney
so
travel.
Don't put that on my tombstone.
Here's some wow. Here's some Disney travel news. This is sort of Disney-ish and travel-ish. Today's International Women's Day.
Woo.
And yay, woo women. Yeah, there we go.
Yay, me!
She's a
and all my kind.
Yeah, she's a woman. So anyway,
women.
Disney Parks blog has a great article on some women that have kind of made a difference, and really recommend going to check that out. And also, our friends over at the Imagineers podcast, Matt Appleby and Susie Bryan, are doing a kind of I think a Disney focused International Women's Day episode, and their episode last year, I cannot remember who it was that they had on, but I remember it being one of my favorite episodes that they've ever done. So definitely go check it out. Their content is always stellar. It is well researched. It's well done. It's well produced.
Stellar. I see what you did there.
Unlike that was unintentional.
Because that's for theming.
Yeah, probably. A little bit. Yeah. So, all right, moving on. We're Disneyland Paris.
They also made the flowers out front at Disneyland Park Minnie Mouse for the first time ever.
They did.
Mickey Mouse.
This is true.
For women.
This is true.
Minnie Mouse is also and women.
Yeah, this is true.
See, I contribute to this.
She does sometimes. Disneyland Paris has kicked off their 30th anniversary celebration, along with bringing back character greetings as kind of part of that. So there have been some whispers. Yeah, there have been some whispers at character greetings, like for real, not like socially distant, but like give the characters a hug.
Okay, so it's funny. I'm shouting out to my friend here. You know who you are. If you know, you know. Hashtag. I can't do the hashtag because I'm holding my.
That's okay.
But I was talking with a friend the other day who, we were talking about how we don't actually hate the interactions the way they are right now. Like it is nice to hug a character, but at the same time, it's nice to not have the pressure to hug a character or make awkward small talk if that's you. And like kids who are scared, they do the whole like, it's whatever, like scary. They can like interact from a distance without having to like get up in their personal
space. You can still do that. Like you still have the option. I'm just saying,
really, because
you create your own pressure.
Think of all the pictures you see every Christmas with kids crying on Santa's lap, and all the pictures you about to see in the next few weeks of kids crying on the world's most horrifying bunny rabbit's lap. Okay.
All right, we'll talk about this later.
There's pressure, right? Like, do other parents feel? No, this is the thing. They put pressure on the kids. It's like, don't you want to give Mickey a hug? Don't you want to kiss Minnie Mouse on the nose? And the kid might be like, no. And a 4-year-old doesn't have the language to be like, no, mother, I really want to maintain my personal space and my boundaries and not give any. They're not going to say that. So I feel like just for some kids, this has been a nice reprieve and they don't even know that they're missing the pressure. Because once those character interactions come back, it's a good thing. It's absolutely a good thing. I'm just saying, some of us have enjoyed the safely at a distance.
There you go. All right, moving onward.
Like my personal space.
Beginning March 11th, which is another important day, face coverings on Disney Cruise Line will become optional in most indoor locations throughout our ships, which is encouraging. We're seeing a lot of the facial covering COVID mandates to kind of change at various travel destinations. And also the Hawaii Safe Travels program concludes March 26th. So this is a travel authorization, vaccination requirement thing. And also, I think the Oahu also had their own kind of version of that on top of what Hawaii as a state had. So anyway, those are wrapping up. And the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser is obviously up and running. The first sailing left 1 week ago today, which is awesome. New dates for it through the end of 2022 are now available, but please be patient with your travel agents calling in. I've called in several dozen times and have been able to get through over the past probably 3 days, and have been able to get through twice.
Yep.
So it is
he's not alone.
Yeah.
This is typical.
It has been crazy. So like, as all that content's coming out there, and influencers are posting about it, and people that have gone on it for the first time are posting about it and talking about it. It's getting out there, and people are getting excited about it. So,
and we can't do our computer magic and take care of it. It has to be called in. So yes, just not making excuses, just patience, please.
Yeah.
If we're your agent, or if someone else is your agent, everybody needs some little patience.
So I'm going to assume this might be the friend that you were talking with about it recently.
It might be.
So talking about the character greetings, Bethany says, I didn't hate it at all, but to balance it out, Jay Wild says, I can't wait to hug Donald. And she made a comment on my shirt. I love your shirt. I bet Tanya found it for you. It was actually her mother, I think, that gave it. Was it you or your mom? It was one or two.
It may have been us in conjunction. I'm pretty sure I found it.
Anyway,
she gave you the one that says Yoda best dad.
That's true. She did. She did. So because she gets that. Anyway, so I sent our guest like 5 minutes ago a note to stand by that I'll be about to bring him on.
Maybe.
So maybe it is time to bring on our special guest for tonight. He is a very exciting person to be around. He's extremely talented in a lot of different ways, and probably has a lot better things to do than kind of sit on a podcast with us two awkward folk. But he does.
He's slumming it tonight.
Yeah, he does love Star Wars.
Me too.
And he is.
Oh my goodness, me too.
He's a very talented musician. He's a travel agent, and he was also on the first official inaugural sailing of the Halcyon, the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. Don't you love it how like Disney comes up with like 14 names for everything?
Did they like smack a wine bottle on it or a champagne bottle or whatever you're supposed to do?
That would have been amazing. No, it wouldn't have been that. It would have been.
Did they not do that in a Galaxy? Huh?
It would have been some like
Spotch.
No, it would have been like a glass bottle blue milk.
What did they
call
it? It was like Spotchka.
I don't know. That sounds.
It doesn't sound right.
No, it does not.
Y'all help me. It was in Mando and they were drinking it. And then at the end, Fennec Shan's like swigging it on the.
I bet our guest knows. If he knows, we can tell him.
I think it's Spotchka.
So anyway,
I really do.
Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Jeffrey B. Scott. There he is.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What in the world?
That's the Halcyon symbol, right?
There it is.
That's the exclusive.
The Halcyon lightsaber.
Yes.
Hi guys.
Cool.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Glad to have you here.
Thanks for tolerating us
and boosting our view count a little bit.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Do what I can.
From 4 to
we might make it 6. To the double digits.
Maybe.
We've done it before.
Yeah. Awesome. I will. You know what? Actually, now that you mention it, there is a story. Because yes, you're correct. Anytime a ship is, what do you call it? Oh my goodness, I've lost the word. Christened. Yes. Yeah. They're supposed to break a bottle of champagne on it, and the Halcyon has a story.
Oh, I want to know this. Is this something that you found out when you were there, or?
Yeah.
Is it part of the experience? Okay.
Part of the experience. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, I don't want to so spoiler alert,
I was going to say you got to tell me what spoiler is.
All right. If you want, I'm just going to go ahead and say this because for us, it's probably not going to be anytime soon when we're able to do this.
Let's go full on spoilers.
All right. So spoiler moving forward, by the way, Jeffrey was one of the few that was on the Travelmation podcast. That episode dropped yesterday.
Nice.
Yesterday morning, and they have a detailed hour plus, very spoiler full episode. Although I think you held back a couple of things.
I did.
Spoiler full look at it from beginning to end, and lots of different takes and aspects on that. So if you want to learn more, definitely check that out. The official Travelmation podcast. So it's good stuff, great content. So tell us the story of the christening of the Halcyon.
Well, as the story goes, there for the christening of the Halcyon, the first bottle that they used to christen it didn't break, and that's a huge sign of good luck. an all and that's something that's been around for years and years and years. If you christened a boat,
right,
and the bottle didn't break, that was a sign of good luck. So it's called the Halcyon Fluke, and it is actually like in the as you enter the sublight lounge. It's right there in the doorway. So
cool.
It's got a nice little plaque and tells you all about it. So
very cool.
I love that.
Now, the reality part, I don't know.
Sure. Well, I mean,
but it's like,
it's all real.
Yeah, it's all real.
You actually go to space.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I did, for sure.
I'm going there. It looked like it from the pictures.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So I was mentioning this to you earlier. One of the things we do whenever we bring guests on, we just kind of like to learn a little bit about them. And by the way, I kind of did a real basic intro for who you were. So if you want to add anything along the way, feel free to do that. So we like to ask questions just to kind of get to know our guests a little bit. And there's one that we always ask every time is, what is your earliest Disney memory? And that could be something from like a movie, a cartoon show, a piece of merch, a visit to the parks. Could be like anything and everything.
Well, so we lived in Miami, Florida in 1971. And so obviously it was a huge deal that this big amusement park was opening up and nobody knew about it.
Right.
I don't actually remember anything. I remember, I do. I actually do. I remember that you had to have these paper tickets to go into each one of the lands, and that you tore them off as you went in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was So that's I remember cool. that. I remember that. And actually I saw a hat at one of the Disney shops. One of the last couple of times I was there, and it was the tickets like in a row for and that's where that's from. It's from that original original thing. So
that's very cool.
It's pretty cool.
I think we got a pin like that for a friend.
Oh yeah,
they have like those.
Yeah, one of the vault collection pins that are out there. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So that's probably one of the first ones, and one of the things that excited me the most was probably seeing Walt talk about Epcot and talk about how that. So yeah, I remember that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's probably it.
That's awesome. All right, so let's take it another step further. What's your earliest Star Wars memory?
Seeing the very first one that came out, technically episode 4.
Yeah.
We lived in a little town in Tennessee called Morristown. Okay. And there was one theater in kind of the downtown area. And it was great. So a friend of ours actually took me. And yeah, I remember really looking forward to it. I think maybe I had even read a book,
like the novelization. Before, I think.
Yeah. And so super excited about the whole thing.
It's awesome.
But yeah,
cool stuff.
That is really cool.
All right, so I'm gonna in the Travelmation podcast episode, y'all sort of went from beginning, like really almost even before you got there to through the whole experience. I'm actually going to kind of go backwards. And if you'll follow me for a second, I'm not going to ask you to recount everything like chronologically backwards that you did, but what I am going to ask is
minute by minute,
starting.
I'm never going to my podcast again.
What? Just straight up question, just to ask you, and we'll just kind of go from here and see where the conversation goes. Would you go on the Starcruiser again? Is this something that you would do again? That you would, pony up for, pay for, bring other people with you? And why?
1,000%. I'm going to cut you off. Just 1,000%. Absolutely would do that. Yeah. Yeah. For a lot of reasons. I think there's a part of it that, like, if you experience something cool, I don't know. Trying to think of like the first time I went to Galaxy's Edge, and then realized that like the Play app, I could interact with stuff and see things. So like then the second time I wanted to go like with that in mind, and like really see what I could actually do and what all I could do and that would kind of interact with me. So I think probably the focus for me is, I want to go back because I want to see some of the other things that I could get to, or some of the other interactions that I could have with cast, or that kind of thing. So yeah.
It seems like it would always be different. Like you could choose to do the missions and stuff or not. And there's like a million different options. There's like a million different options for how to interact with the whole experience.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, if for anybody that doesn't know, there are these communications that come in on your device, and you're interacting with these characters, and depending on how you answer can change how they respond. And so, you have a I'm all in answer versus a I don't know, I'm kind of hanging back. The hanging back answer is going to prompt them to respond a different way than the I'm all in answer. And so it's I think it could be replicated if you just chose the same thing every time, because it really is an either or kind of situation. But as you answer these comms, you could, and I, for one, for sure was like, oh, I could see how I could kind of stress a little bit more like an all in from the beginning kind of attitude. And that probably would have led me down some different paths. But yeah. It's that feeling of wanting to go, I experienced a lot of this, but I would love to just have at it again.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah. So I'm gonna honestly, I hadn't finished a full episode, and I was sort of waiting for me to remain as spoil free as possible till till basically y'all got off and we're able to talk about your experience. There's so much stuff out there. We can talk about like list slants and people being hosted and all that kind of stuff, but y'all were not. Like, this is something that you all did like on your own. And which is one of the reasons why I was excited to hear it. But I'm going to ask a very kind of specific question, and this is not something that I don't know. I feel like I've heard for the little bits of comments that I've heard. But is there anything that you think could have been done better about the experience? Because everything that I've heard so far, just kind of in passing, sometimes has been like almost outrageously positive, even from people that tend to be, more critical. I think.
Wow. I would be hard pressed to figure out what that was.
Sure.
In any kind of staged show where lighting and stage pieces and all that kind of stuff is timed by human beings.
Yeah.
There's going to be some of those mismatches of like, when I watched back on this part of the video that I was taking, and of course everybody had their phones up and just videoing the whole thing. I noticed that, this one character fell, and then a set piece fell. And so it almost was like, well, she probably could have fallen when that fell, and that might have felt a little more natural. But again, like in the moment, I don't know that I, sensed anything like that. It was just more like, oh wait, I was watching back and and then this. And so you get that sense of like, the timing was off on a couple of things. But then again, while I think these guys have been working on this thing for months and months and months, it's still human beings involved in a production. And it never happens on Broadway the same way twice. They'll get it better and better and better, but it's never exactly the same every time. And so even so that to me is like, oh, well, yeah, it is a live action. There is live action element to this. So in terms of like doing things better, man, no, not really. I could certainly see like some of those things that as we get farther into, these actors have had more and more reps and things like that. And, cues and timing and stuff like that. But I could see that improving, but not necessarily like, well, yeah, I mean, it kind of was lackluster at this one point. I had no feeling of that. When we got on, I will say this, like, we were like, man, is this going to be long enough? That was one of the questions. Is this going to be long enough? Is it going to be too long?
Yep.
Is it going to feel forced in some way? And, one way or the other. And the general consensus for all of us, once we kind of got to that third day, got to the end of the second day, it was like, okay, this was the right amount of time. They knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing. Yeah.
A little bit. But
that's awesome. That's really encouraging to hear. That's really cool. Was there ever a moment, like in your experience, where like you forgot that some of the characters out there were actually, actors? If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, and I think you can. I think it's safe to say, like, yes, you can step back into your reality and go, these are actors or crew members or cast members, and of course, and there's Loretta joining us.
Freaking out because it's so sweet. It happens. We've had kids walk in, we've had dogs walk in, so
nice.
It works.
She has storm anxiety, and it's raining here a little bit. So.
Oh no.
I hear you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, of course, you can suspend reality though. That's, I think, the fascinating thing to me about it was, like, we could for sure kind of just like dive in and feel great about just letting these people be the characters that they were portraying,
right.
The captain was the captain, of course. And so, just, I don't think there was ever a moment where I was like, you're not playing your character. As a matter of fact, like even the crew members who were just kind of playing the concierge and, regular crew on board, never broke. We actually saw somebody that Adam had met before in another part of one of the parks and realized it. And even this guy who it was obvious that, like, we knew him from other places.
Yeah.
He would not break character. No. Like, he was like, I really don't know. I mean, I've heard of this. I've heard of this land called Hollywood Studios, I believe, but I really don't know if that's if that's a real place or not. Like, it just, he was all in.
Too fun. I love it.
Well, I love it. Like, it's really encouraging.
I love Loretta too.
For those of you listening at home, the dog is now taking over the show. But
they do that. Dogs
one
do
thing
that.
I love, like, that's sort of the essence of Streetmosphere in Disney's Hollywood Studios, and even back in the day when it was still at Epcot, are these characters that you're interacting with that, their world is their character, where they're from, their background, their country, the time, all that stuff kind of makes up who they are and how they interact with you. So, like, I love that idea. I mean, it's kind of the essence of, I think y'all talked about this in the Travelmation podcast a little bit, live action role playing, because that's kind of what it is, but like tweaked up on a completely different level.
Totally.
So that's really cool.
I mean, I just get that feeling in Galaxy's Edge. Like, I already feel truly like, so, like, to take it even more to like an intense level on the Halcyon sounds super awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they do theming well. Like,
oh gosh, yes.
This is
no kidding.
This is very true.
Yeah, the whole experience was top notch. From the way things looked to the way that the characters were, and it was really amazing.
All right, so I want to hit pause on the conversation real quick. Sure. Well, sort of, and talk about food. Okay. Our question of the day was food related. What was the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? Now, I talked a little bit about this, but I feel like you could have talked a little bit more about it. But was there like a particular food dish or snack that you loved, or one that was like, yeah, I'm not doing that?
Well, on the Halcyon,
yeah.
Shrimp is not a big thing for me. I don't love it anyway. So to have these massive blue shrimp coming out, like surrounded by like this almost like dry ice smoke kind of thing going on, it was like, okay, I have to try it, but I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure. But no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll eat anything twice.
No, fair enough. Well, she used to have this thing where she wouldn't eat anything blue.
So blues, if God wanted us to eat blue food, I felt like he would have made blue food. And anybody who's seen a blueberry knows they're actually purple. So for a long time, I was just like, I mean, I know it's all food dye anyway, but for some reason the blue stuff just freaked me out. But I've had a lot of kids and I just am getting a little chunky. So I just eat everything now.
It's okay.
Nice.
I used to look forward to getting the blue M&Ms. But anyway, so yeah, just talk a little bit more about that. Like, were there any other dishes that you really liked aside from?
I think you know what, Josh Lamb, that was with us on the Travelmation podcast and on the Halcyon, he said that he had read something that basically said things may look different than what you've experienced before, but it will all taste pretty familiar. And I will say that was one of the things that kind of made me go, well, all right, we're going to try it. Even if it's purple with some kind of white stuff on it, or, you know, it just doesn't look like, this shouldn't be food. But yeah, so everything was really, really tasty. There were, you know, of course, because it's themed, everything, you know, we had bantha meat and we had tip-yip, and not chicken, tip-yip.
Like a bantha.
Yeah.
And not beef, bantha. So, you know, some stuff like that it was like, oh, well, this is great. And the first night we actually did Captain's Table for dinner, and and that was even a little bit like kind of an upgraded experience, just because they were kind of introducing everything to you, telling you what stuff was, kind of explaining, okay, this sauce goes with this and this does this. So it was kind of a neat experience to have all of that input. But yeah, I think probably the thing that got me the most, just like tickled, there was this ball, and it was green, but it was kind of like it had a green powder around it. And when you bit into it, it was peanut butter jelly.
Wow.
It was like this meteor of peanut butter and jelly. So
that's
so even for
delivery
kids,
system, you know?
For that. Yeah. Oh, totally.
Get it to you faster.
Totally.
Space age Uncrustables.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if we can break for a minute, do you mind answering our regular question, like in real life? What's the
real life question? Okay, sure. Yeah.
Since we've had other people contributing, what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, weirdest thing I've ever eaten. Well, up to now, blue shrimp. So if you include that, but I have always been a really like picky eater, and so that it's not been a thing for me. You know, olives. No.
There you go. Well,
I can't do olives. Not a fan. Not for me.
But yeah. No, I've always been super picky, and it has not served our kids well. Because I think my 19-year-old still has as a staple in her diet mac and cheese. And
hey,
so,
there you go.
I'm 36. If I had to choose the last meal, it would involve mac and cheese.
Yeah. So we went to Sanford University in Birmingham, and she used to bring me Easy Mac for like a midnight snack when I was having overnight study sessions.
Nice.
Sure, I believe him.
You did.
That
Way to go.
Totally did.
I believe that.
I remember things.
Not ramen.
Well, of course, instant ramen. Absolutely.
Okay.
We had some of that in our house very recently.
Yeah, we ran out, and then like I guess I don't know if it has to do with supply chain or whatever. I can't find ramen in the store. It's always cleared out. Yeah, and then
COVID
ramen's even better.
Yeah, exactly. Supply chain. Man, ramen. So just a few other kind of quick answers from our question of the day feed.
There were some interesting answers. Yeah.
Somebody said balut. Actually, a few people did, and I didn't have time to look up what that was. Did you look it up?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is. So I'll have to look it up. Ian, who I was really hoping, he's a bit of a foodie. I was really hoping he would comment because I knew he would have some fun answers. He said snake, squab, cod, millet, the 3 items. Okay. He said those 3 items I chose randomly off a griddle in Hong Kong. Probably some hoofed animals' internal organs.
There you go.
Wow. There we go.
Is a fertilized developing egg embryo that's boiled and eaten from the shell.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Commonly sold as street food in South China and Southeast Asia countries, notably Philippines, Cambodia,
there you
Vietnam.
Go. Yep. There you go.
All right.
Our buddy David.
Something new today.
Yeah. Buddy David said
some
weird stuff that I don't even know the name of, I'm sure. Somebody said iguana. That's just strange to me. Somebody said goat at an Egyptian corner buffet in New York City. I've had curried goat as like a Jamaican dish that was actually pretty good.
It was looked like vomit, but it tasted delicious.
And then several people, including Tanya and actually 2 others, I think, said guinea pig, also known as cuy, that you can find in Peru, I think, Chile, and Honduras. So it's like, you know,
we had alpaca too when we were
that we did. It was delicious. I like it. I prefer it better barbecued personally. So our neighbor Kaylee says kangaroo. She didn't know it was kangaroo at the time, but there you go. Somebody said spider, and that just and held up like a big, like looks like to be a fried.
Oh, look, someone said nope. Oh, that you said me. Nope. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, that was me. No. So yeah, a lot of fish eyeballs. So like people are pretty adventurous out here. Cow tongue, June bug. That's just strange. So I'm glad.
Bored, Jeffrey, you can find us on Facebook and scroll through.
Somebody even said horse. That just doesn't seem right. But and even somebody said, don't tell your dog, but somebody said dog earlier. So
did you cover Loretta's ears?
No. But anyway, just some like, you know, random things I was thinking about, kind of theming, because I think like with any experience that you're looking at, I wouldn't say really any experience because this is a very unique experience, but thinking about the detail of Galaxy's Edge, thinking about the detail of the Starcruiser, it basically took, you know, what Imagineers did in the parks to an even more like minute experience, because it's not like guests show up and then they play around for a little while and they leave. Like they're there. That's their environment. And I think it was either maybe you or somebody else that said that they were up like wandering the ship at like 3 a.m. or something like that, and they had like they were like putting out like different food options in the middle of the night, and there were people out like doing stuff. And so it's not like, you know, the park shut down, they kick you out. I mean, that's like your environment. So like they think of every single little like small thing along the way to make it, you know, basically the Star Wars fans' dream experience. But there are also people, even some that we know, some other agents that we know that like are kind of familiar with Star Wars, but they're not Star Wars fans, and they still had a blast. And that was good to hear. So yeah, thank you. I will take the words off the screen. Sorry. So she's got to correct me.
I keep telling him I need to control the computer, but he doesn't believe me.
Well,
Well,
we all need help.
Say again.
We all need help.
We all need help. For sure. So just to kind of like start wrapping up the conversation, because again, we could talk about a lot of different things. We haven't really talked about entertainment at all, but so let's just spend like a couple of moments to talk about that. Like, as far as the entertainment options that were out there, because some of it, like, it wasn't just like, oh, you go and you sit down in like a lounge or something, somebody sings, but like it was all tied into the story and all tied into the experience. I understand. So
like, absolutely.
Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. You know, I think that the way that people have described it and the way I experienced it, of like this immersive experience, that's absolutely the right way to think about it. When you see the captain walking through the atrium, she's probably headed somewhere or going to do something, and if you interrupt her, you might become part of that storyline or whatever is going on there. And so when you talk about entertainment options, it's not so much that there is like on a regular cruise ship, you might go, okay, in the lounge, there's a guy playing piano, and over on the other side of the ship, there's karaoke, and over down here is this other thing, and at dinner, there's going to be it wasn't anything like that, because you did have to kind of follow through with the story. And so, the Sublight Lounge, kind of the bar area, there was, you've heard of the game Sabacc, and of course Tanya's like, yes, that's where Han won the Millennium Falcon. Yes, of course I know Sabacc. They had a table there that was a hollow, what do they call it? But it was like a hologram table. Yes. That would show you your cards and the whole thing. Okay, so you've seen the table.
Looked really cool.
Yeah. So here's the coolest. Like, okay, I'll just tell you this one little piece of the story. Like, as we were sitting down for the first time in the Sublight Lounge, server comes over, and we're chit-chatting a little bit. Where are you guys from? Oh, Corellia. Oh, he's from the Forest Moon of Endor. And just coming up with our own backstory at the same. And she says, would you like to learn Sabacc? Sure, absolutely. And brings over some cards. She's kind of teaching us, and says, and of course, now the Halcyon used to be, it had a season where it was a casino ship, and so these tables over here were all over the ship, because Sabacc was a huge game at the time, and so everybody was playing Sabacc all over the ship, and they had these tables everywhere. We actually found this one and restored it and put it in here. It's just kind of a nod to the Halcyon's storied career as that in that time. And it was like, you didn't have to come up with a story like that.
Yeah,
you could have just told us that's what that
We're
was.
Just like hologram table. Yes.
Yeah, it's like a backstory for that's like I love it.
That's intense. I love it.
Yeah. And so just stuff like that. So there's that. One of the things that I loved about it, obviously, we experience this when we go to the parks. There's music everywhere. There's always something playing, even if it's like, I think of Pandora, where it's not necessarily like it's more just like this pad and sort of atmospheric kind of stuff. And
noise.
Yeah. And you experience that a little bit around Galaxy's Edge as well. This was a little bit more like a cruise ship, where if you walk into the atrium, there's some music playing, not just atmosphere, although atmosphere is part of it too. And then the part of the story, as you sit down to dinner, this intergalactic superstar has joined us on the ship, and she's going to do tonight's entertainment. And actually, just to be real for a minute, that was one of the things that blew me away, because I always think, like, production wise, things like that, you can pull off anything that has to be repeated. And we know, everybody knows, we're about to do this again, and then again, and then again. Like, anything that has to be repeated be so much easier on the people, on the staff, on the guys mixing the audio, all of that. If the person singing just did lip sync and didn't actually have to sing it again. And so I could see, like, all right, you could make a case for that being how things are, but this girl was killing it. Like, she's walking around the dining room singing, and just a foot away. And so you can hear just like, she's actually singing that. Awesome. And it is amazing. Cool. And she's killing it. So it was really cool to see these actors like just be able to like walk out and nail it. But then remembering that, like, she's going to have just a simple conversation with Adam, or with, this guy sitting over at this table, or any number of things. And she's still in character, and she's still doing this thing. And so all of that stuff was really, really top notch. As you look through an itinerary, and you've probably seen some screenshots of that, where you see, like, okay, day 1, and there's a couple of things on the list, day 2, and there's other things, and some of them are gray, some of them are gold, and you're seeing, like, okay, well, what are those things? Well, those are important things. because there's a part of the story that happens in those moments. And so it's cool to like kind of get that visual cue of like, okay, something's about to happen along the way. And so it never felt like we were just sitting around twiddling our thumbs. There probably were people doing that. But for us,
twiddle your thumbs.
Yeah.
If you're not going to,
if you're not going to dive in, I definitely saw some people that would like,
they were getting
they were kind of like, I financed this for my kids to come.
Yeah.
I am here, but I'm not diving into the story.
Right.
I'm not trying to figure out how to get into the engineering room and just all that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, plenty to do. But it wasn't like, oh, there's an arcade. It was more like the ship is going to give you plenty to do if you want to dive in that way. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Are you done with your questions?
I got like one kind of closing question. But you go ahead.
I just have a couple short ones.
Go for it.
So this new Han and Leia book is coming out, and the story is they honeymooned on the Halcyon. Is there anything on there that links that book that you saw?
That's hilarious. I didn't see anything. Right? I didn't see anything.
Okay.
I will say
that's kind of one of those things that makes you go, oh, I gotta like, we go back, keep an eye on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I will say that let me see where this guy was in our. Have you seen these? Heard about these?
I haven't.
So the Halcyon legacy is basically the backstory. And so cool. As I understand it, they're producing 5 comics that kind of give you some of the story of the Halcyon. And so it's cool to kind of hear that that's tied in.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Disney, they know what they're doing. They like to bring it all in.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another quick question. So I've heard that this would be a better experience for like older kids. So like, in your opinion, at what kind of age do you think most kids would be like,
That's a great question.
And did you see any like real small kids there, and were their parents just like super stressed out or what?
There was definitely a baby on board, sat nearby us, and I was like, I would not have made this choice. Only because
I would have. I'm the weirdo that takes babies everywhere.
Well,
I want to go. Baby's got to come.
Yeah. Well, and we were. Just a quick aside. Like, we were never the parents who were like, "Well, we can't do this because we have the baby." Yeah. Like, we were always like, "Baby's coming."
Yeah.
Right.
We'll figure it out if we need to juggle this or whatever. Yep. But and I'm sure. I would have to say though, with the caveat, like. But where I am now, where my kids are right now, which are they're teenagers, like I don't know that I would have made that choice.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't know. I probably would have too. But yeah, there were definitely kids on board. I will say the ones that I saw that like they really had a great time were able to kind of read and play with the devices and kind of see, okay, I'm going to do some missions. I'm going to be plugged into this in some way. So I don't know what age I don't have an age in mind, but like
7, 8, 9,
younger kids. I don't know that would be, they would probably have fun because, the same reason that you were talking about before, that like the kids freak out with a huge Mickey Mouse that they can't stand up to, it's like all of that. And so imagine a stormtrooper with any kind of, backstory to that for a kid. If there's any connection emotionally to that, I would imagine that could kind of freak somebody out. Yeah. But yeah, we definitely saw a bunch of kids on there. A few kids. Interestingly enough, they had a thing on the schedule, and I was like, "What is this?" And it is a special invite-only thing for kids under a certain age. And they like walk them through the bridge, and they walk them through the engineering room, and there's stuff for them.
That's pretty neat.
That is
I like that.
There was a little bit of a nod to like, we're gonna definitely cater to these kids who are here. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was.
All right, I have one more like just a little question before he does his ending question.
Oh dear. All right.
Was there anything that just really surprised you, or that you did not expect, or anything that just kind of made you surprised?
I mean, it's going to sound cliche, but like everything was just so over the top. Probably the thing that the one experience that I had that was like that freaked everybody else out. We talked about on the Travelmation podcast, but like we're sitting in the sublight lounge learning sabacc, and one of the characters comes up behind me and like puts his arm around me, just kind of like asking everybody how they're doing, the whole thing. Well, I had read a comm from this character, and it said at the end, so this is like the key takeaway, the like pro tip, read everything and actually read it. But like it had said at the end of this comm, it said, hey, if you see me, say this phrase, and I won't give it away because I don't want to. It's too fun. But if you see me, say this phrase and let me know so that I can remember that we had this conversation. I may have some work for you.
Yeah. Ooh.
I was like, all right. Okay. So here's this guy, here's this opportunity. And I'm like, hey, by the way, and I said the phrase, and he kind of does the like little head tilt, like, really? And so there's a beat of maybe like 2 seconds, and he says to the guys, hey, do you mind if I steal him away for just a minute? Do you have a second? Looks at me, and we walk out of the room.
You're like, yeah, I've got a second.
And I'm like, yeah. We walk out of the room and over to the ship's console. He swipes a card, says, put your M band, not magic band, your M band right there. I've just transferred you some coordinates. I have a job for you tomorrow in Batu. You and your crew up to that? And we're like, yes! I went and told them. Yes, I went and told them about it, and they were like, what? That was one of those like moments where I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah. That is some serious storytelling.
That is so awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think like my closing question is probably you just answered, but
okay.
Excuse me, I'm gonna ask it anyway. Yeah. And you could say, yeah, that was it or not, whatever. You can say something else. What was the moment that like made it for you? Like, was there something that happened? You're like, yeah, this is why I came. This is why I wanted to do this.
I'm having deja vu. Did you already ask that question?
No, did not.
I need to go to bed. I'm like, I swear I remember that.
I mean, that the moment that I just told you about, like that level of character interaction, but then again, like also the way that same guy called me by name the next day, or or any of the characters. Like I talked to the cruise director several times. The way she interacted with me every time was like, yes, I remember you. Yes. And just, it was so good in that respect. Like that was there. I don't know that there was a moment, other than kind of realizing that like these guys weren't just reading a script.
Yeah.
They were trying to involve you in the action, involve you in the whole story. I will say as an aside, like the amount of people that when we pulled up were already decked out in costume, in character, like ready to go on the thing, blew me away. I consider myself, I don't know, I consider myself a little bit of a geek in that respect, because I love all things like all things Star Wars, all the like, sci-fi. That's I love it. And so so I definitely had that moment of like, oh, I showed up in street clothes and no one else did.
I'm so embarrassed. I didn't go right. Like
I just came. I'm sorry. But yeah, like everybody that showed up really treated it with a great deal of respect, I think. And so that also like lended to the story and how it felt. And
Cool. Well, I love that so much. I'm excited to hopefully be able to do that someday. And we've got like 4 small ones.
We're saving our pennies.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure. Yeah. Tell me about it.
But yeah, but that's awesome. Thank you for sharing your experience with us, and thank you for your dog for making an appearance too.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you feel just like so led to share before you go?
You're like, I need to say this.
People need to know about.
People need to know, like people. Well, that was one of my takeaways was people need to know, like, if you see something happening, even if you don't even know what it is, you see a group of people gathering together and you're like, wait, I see a crew member in the middle of that. What is happening?
Yeah.
Go investigate.
Yeah. Get in on it.
Never know. I, because of that kind of an experience, I got to see something that the other people didn't get to see. And as a matter of fact, about maybe 15 other people besides me were kind of in this room when this thing happened. And it was one of those, just like, you got to be kidding me that this is what's happening right now.
Wow.
Like, so nuts, just so over the top.
Can you tell us what that is after we stop recording?
Sure, absolutely.
I want to know.
Yeah,
that's cool. So thank you again for taking the time to do this and hang out with us and to appease our Star Wars nerddom, as it were. But yeah, this has been a blast chatting with you.
It's like, Jeffrey, if you don't know, you probably don't, because you never know me. But it's like Star Wars is like a defining characteristic of me. And
this is true.
People like, oh, Tanya, she's the girl who generally wears big earrings, but I took them off because it's late, and loves Star Wars.
Yep.
And like my friends are like, oh, I saw something Star Wars related. Can you answer me this question? Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
It's like it's like a big, and I like Jesus. So earrings, Star Wars, and Jesus, not necessarily in that order, but like big defining points of my character. Not necessarily
that order. That's good.
So so this is, we really appreciate you coming on and kind of like letting us geek out for a minute. Yeah.
It's been fun. So anyway, well, we hope that you all out there in Facebook and YouTube and podcast land have enjoyed this.
The internets.
The interwebs have enjoyed this discussion. If you do have any questions about the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser, that experience, how to book your stay, the different room types, all those sorts of things, feel free to drop us a message or an email. We'll have that information in the show notes for you if you're listening on podcast. And as always, feel free to leave us a review if you like. It would be awesome to see a new one.
As long as it's a good one.
As long as it's a good one. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we don't want any. If you're gonna give us like anything less than 5 stars, just don't bother.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Send us an email. I don't know, but don't email. Anybody got time for those
email. Anyway, we're gonna go. Thank you all again so much for joining us for this special episode of Travel Tips Tuesday to talk a little bit about the Starcruiser, and we do hope you'll have a magical rest of your week. We'll see you again real soon.
Oh, and hi, Mom.
Oh, she's always got to say that. Bye.